Hello and welcome back to another Space Engineers Showcase video. In today's video, we got something rather silly because of the brand new update adding the railguns, and it was completely expected that someone was going to create something like this. This is the Gatling Railgun, which is just a bunch of railguns strapped together onto a rotor with a sensor block to make it fire when it detects a block below it. That block is the window you see right there. This thing is incredibly destructive, but also extremely power hungry. I've been experimenting with large reactors, experimenting with cheating mods, and so far nothing has been able to power the Gatling guns for an extended amount of time. Pressing F10 and finding it in the spawn menu, the Gatling Railgun is 597 large blocks. You can see here the little bit of information about it, where you just simply add the time block to fire, you have a time block to stop, and then you can increase and decrease the advanced rotor to change the firing speed, and it is rather incredible to look at when you turn that thing all the way up. And it's also available for Xbox for you brave few people. Anyway, giving this thing a thumbs up, we'll move all around to the very front, we'll have a brief look around the outside because there's not really too much to talk about, and then we'll go and test it out, I'll show you how it fires, then I'll spawn in some ships for me to destroy for your pleasure. Anyway, at the very front here, this is where do I even start with this thing? Let's just start over here for the moment. So, going around the entire edge of this thing and making up like 90% of the entire blueprint are these small block railguns. They go all the way around in a lovely circle, and that's been done via a hinge in between them at the very back here. We have some decorative rotor heads, just making it look a bit better and covering up those access points on the side there to make it a lot more neat. In the middle here and connecting everything together, we've got a bunch of these red steel blocks that go across onto our rotor at the back here. This rotor is responsible for increasing and decreasing the rate of fire of this when it starts to spool up. If we were to come all the way down here, in fact we'll come to the opposite side where the sun is, you can see our first time block, which is responsible for starting this thing up and making it fire, and then the time block below here is going to be to stop it and, well, make it stop firing. Below here we've got another rotor head with a window piece just below here, and as you can see on the bottom of all the railguns, we've got some sensor blocks which are going to be used to detect that window piece, and when they cross its path, it's going to fire the railgun. It does get very wonky when we turn up the speed, but you'll see that in just a moment. So this is all we get with the blueprint, and it's very simple yet very destructive. So what I'll do for the moment is just ignore this one, and we'll come all the way over to this one right here, where I've stacked a bunch of the warfare reactors onto it, so we can fire it for an extended amount of time. It's not going to last forever, in fact I don't think it'll last more than a minute, but well, here we go with my character. So all the way over to here, I'm now going to come across over to this section right here. I'll position the camera all the way around to this part, we'll bring the sun all the way around, and get a much clearer view of what's going on with it. There we go, that'll have to do. So we're going to come into here, we're going to find the time block, which is going to be to fire the cannon. We're going to start it up, come over to the free camera, and actually start spinning around. And there we go, it's now going to trigger off the block below it, and it's going to start shooting. If the design does look different, because I will just cut out a lump there, it wasn't behaving properly, so I did need to remodel it a bit. But that is all it does, it just spins around, triggers the sensor, and fires the Gatling gun at a rather rapid pace. So that's what that does. And if I was to come back into here and find the advanced rotor, which is this, and we increase the velocity, we're now going to turn it into a rapid fire cannon. But as you can see, it runs out of juice very quickly, so it cannot be sustained. And well, it's just going to go into a burst fire mode. So what we'll do now for the moment is we're going to turn that off, because that is pretty much it. What this thing does is very self-explanatory, as I said. And what we'll do now is come across over to the Albatross jump ship, where it's got the Gatling Railgun strapped to the front of it. And on the inside of the ship, we've got one hell of a lot of reactors. We've got cheating reactors that have some obscene power generation. In fact, we'll come all the way up to this, because this is one of them right now. In the control panel, look at that. That is one hell of a lot of power for a small reactor. And I've also used a free camera once again. We'll come into the hangar bay, which has been repurposed as a, well, very crude reactor bay. And it gets even worse as we go further through the ship. In fact, that's the wrong way through the ship. All the way through here, where there's, well, even more reactors everywhere. So what we're going to do is just come all the way across to this, and we're going to get inside, and we're going to rapid fire this thing, which will be a lot easier, because now I've got a seat and some buttons to press. So we're going to start this thing up, we're on 0 RPMs, and now we can do spool it up as far as possible. And that is what we get. It's just one hell of a lot. The game is struggling to keep up, but we still run into that problem that you saw just a second ago where we run out of juice very, very quickly. As you can see there, we've only got 1 hour worth of power, which is not enough to sustain this. So we'll have to spin it all the way down and stop it while it recharges itself. Okay, and here we go. This thing is a lot heavier than it was due to all the stuff on it. So we're going to need to try and align this up with the other albatross, and we're going to shoot straight down the lengthway of the ship, and hopefully we'll be able to do some damage. What am I getting stuck on? I'm getting stuck on that reactor right there. So we're just going to turn this thing all the way around. This is so slow now. Too many reactors on this thing. And well, it should do a nice lot of damage. Hopefully, anyway. So that'll do for the moment. We are drifting a little bit. I do want to line this up a bit better. That should do. Now going to find the free camera to make sure we are properly aligned. That is nowhere near aligned, so we're going to have to tilt this thing all the way down. There we go. That should do. And one more final check, which is come all the way over like this. Whereas the gun is pointing, it's probably going to miss it by a mile. But anyway, here we go. We're going to start up that. That's now going to be moving at 3 RPM. We're going to bring the free camera all the way over. Hopefully this thing can stop drifting. And I think I'll just position the camera like so. That'll do quite nicely. So here we go. We're going to start this thing up. It's going to start spinning. And there we go. We're now going to start firing. I can adjust it. And we're just going to spin this up much faster. And there we go. The game is struggling a little bit to keep it in one spot. And there we go. That looks like all we're going to get out of that burst. How much damage did we deal to this poor little ship? Well, let's just go all the way over to here. And, well, it looks like we've done quite a lot of damage, actually. We came out the top. How did we come out the top? I wasn't even aiming up like that. We did a lot of damage, and the ship is sort of falling a little bit. So I think the better thing to do would be to tilt it down just a bit and turn it into a station so it stopped moving. Now we're going to fire it once again. And there we go. We're now going to make it fire all the way across over to here. How far through the albatross is it going? It is, well, doing what a railgun should. And wow, that's actually doing a lot of damage. It's coming all the way through there. There goes the hydrogen tanks. There goes the ammunition. It is now falling all the way down. And that is the end of that. So now we can stop that from firing. And, well, you get the idea of what this thing can do. It's a very silly weapon. And I'm sure someone is going to strap multiple of these to a ship once they figure out how to sustain it for, well, extended firing. So one final thing to do, of course, because there's not too much else to talk about. It's just a funny little thing that people can play around with. If you are looking for a very overpowered, very power-hungry weapon, it's, of course, slam this into a mountainside. So off we go. We can't really see too much because there is a block in the middle. So we're going to have to try to fly forwards. This is me flying forwards, by the way. And away we go. We're now going to start to move forwards. We're going to find that mountainside in the distance there. We'll start pummeling it with the Gatling Railgun. So here we go, all the way across, going towards this little lump. And there we go. That is, wow. Okay, due to the sheer amount of weight, thanks to those large reactors, where is the ship gone? There it is, all the way over to there. And we have dealt a nice lot of damage. But yes, that is pretty much it for this video. It's just a short, silly one. Because it's always funny to see people's crazy designs when there's a new weapon to play with, especially a railgun and its destructive power. So there'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download and play around with it yourself. I highly recommend you do. I also recommend downloading some kind of super reactor. I'm currently using a cheating reactor. If I come into here and find it, there it is. It's called the Creative Reactor. You might want to use a particle collider reactor. That's entirely up to you and whether your computer or console can handle it. Yes, like I said, there'll be a link to it in the description below. I highly recommend you check it out because it is a bit of fun. And I'll be back with a more proper video some point soon. Bye bye.